The Houston Rockets just gave us a surprising update, and I'll tell you, this has some serious implications for the start of the 2025-26 season, as head coach Ime Udoka labeled the fifth starting slot on the roster as an up-for-grabs spot. We'll tell you the latest right here on Rockets Digest. Welcome in, everybody. I'm Jace Andrews, and we appreciate you taking the time out of your day to join us here on the show. We've got lots to discuss involving this fifth slot that seems to be open, according to head coach Ime Udoka. Before that, though, if you're looking for daily Rockets content, we got you covered. Go down there, hit that subscribe button. It's 100% free. And as we inch closer to the start of the season, training camp less than a month away, our coverage is going to get more and more amped up. So if you want that all throughout the 25-26 season, we're here to stay, so hit that subscribe button. The new look Houston Rockets are here, and they are very, very exciting. And there was one question that I think some people skimmed over, including myself. What would the starting five look like for this new look Houston Rockets? As of now, we had a pretty penciled-in edition of this starting five. If we look at most media outlets, most depth charts across the web, this is what we see. At the 1, it's the usual, Fred VanVleet. At the 2, that's where Thompson sits. At the 3, the newly acquired Kevin Durant. He pops in at small forward. At the 4 is where Jabari Smith sits currently, and at the 5 is where Alperen Şengün is. But maybe that's not exactly how things will turn out. You see, most recently at a local community event, head coach Ime Udoka was there, answered questions, and one answer kind of arose a discussion across Rockets media. It was this. He says that the fifth starter has yet to be decided, and it will be figured out during training camp. Whoa. Intriguing here. Okay, so the first question that we ask after that is, what are the starting four? Like, what are the four guys that are, quote-unquote, locked down in their spots? Well, that's where we kind of have to start with a report here. As we go into it, NBC Sports' Kurt Hyland says this, saying, quote, 4 of the starting 5 for the Houston Rockets are locked in. But Coach Ime Udoka has a deep roster and can go a lot of other directions with that fifth spot. And it's something he could change game to game depending upon matchups, end quote. Okay, intriguing thought there. So let's go back quickly to this Rockets depth chart. I believe as of right now, it's pretty obvious the 4 starting slots that are immediately taken up are Fred VanVleet, Thompson, KD, and Alperen Şengün. Jabari Smith, who started for a majority of last year before being injured, and then Thompson kind of taking that role, and Jabari coming back off of a bench role. I think that should have been done given the extension to Jabari Smith Jr., but it was mentioned that he was the guy that wasn't guaranteed that fifth slot. Here's what head coach Ime Udoka said on the matter. Quote, it's to be determined. I do think Jabari showed tremendous growth this offseason, and obviously, he started the majority of his time here before the injury. Okay, so that's good to know. He believes that there was growth for Jabari, which, given the contract extension, I would really hope there was. But at the same time, what exactly is the question? That's where he finishes off with this, saying, quote, but we'll take a look at everybody. We feel we have incredible depth this year and a lot of versatility. So we could go a number of different ways as far as that. I think some of that will be proven in training camp, end quote. Okay, so we now know that Jabari is definitely the one that is not guaranteed that starting slot, which I find interesting for the simple fact that he was given such a big extension. What exactly are the options beyond Jabari Smith Jr.? Well, Ben DeBose of Rockets Wire, who had this quote, talked about it here, saying, beyond Smith, other candidates appear likely to include Dorian Finney-Smith, Tari Eason, and perhaps Steven Adams if the, quote, double big lineups are prioritized. So let's take a look at all 3 of these, and rather all 4 of them, and why exactly that one should deserve the starting spot over the others. The first we have to talk about is Jabari Smith, and I think his reasoning is pretty obvious. He's very young, just 22 years old, and already has a contract extension for the Houston Rockets to be here until around 2030. So that would make a lot of sense that you'd want him on the starting 5 and want him out there pretty much every single game starting. But the argument against him is he averaged 30 minutes per game and just 12.2 points per game. Definitely could see a little bit of a step back. However, there was injury issues, and after he came back from his injury and kind of settled in, he looked very consistent, I think would be the right word to use, in the playoff series against the Golden State Warriors. The field goal percentage is there, and maybe even the biggest thing of all is that when Kevin Durant was traded to the Houston Rockets, a lot of people labeled Jabari Smith as a potential improvement candidate because he's going to be able to learn from KD. And given the similar body types of Jabari and KD and the play styles, I think it would be a nice thing to have Jabari out there with KD so that he could learn and grow and mold himself and hopefully become an even better player, 2-3 years down the line when Kevin Durant does end up retiring, leaving, whatever ends up happening. With that being said, though, I understand that there are other options out there and maybe options that could be a better fit. We go to probably, I think, the least likely option, at least in my mind, and that is the newly signed Dorian Finney-Smith. Smith signed a 4-year contract with the Houston Rockets in this year's free agency. 2 of those years are guaranteed. The other 2 are not guaranteed. Last year with the Lakers, he was used improperly. They did not have a center, and so DFS was kind of moved around and used in ways that I don't think he was fairly processed there. 28.9 minutes per game, 8.7 points per game, and then rebounds per game. You have 3.9, 1.4, and 0.4. In between all of this, there is a field goal percentage of .448. I believe that Dorian Finney-Smith could be a very, very good 4. But I don't think he's the best option. I don't think he deserves the right to be there. I don't think that he is the guy that you should probably watch and make a note for him to be even included in this starting roster. That being said, I do like him as the number 2 to whoever gets the starting role. I think if it's Tari, you got to make him the 2. If it's Steven, you make him maybe the 3, but I really do like him as the backup to whatever power forward slot you have, because Tari can play small forward, he can play power forward. Steven Adams is going to be a center, so he's going to be a backup center. So even if you go with a double big, it's going to be a portion where you're probably going to play him at the 4 and the 5. Kind of an intriguing lineup there. So I mentioned 2 other players, and let's go into it right here. First off, Tari Eason is an option. Haven't got his extension done yet. He is extension eligible at least until October 20th. After that mark, it changes a lot. In terms of minutes per game, though, 24.9 last year, 12 points per game, 6.4 rebounds, and a .487 field goal percentage. With that all being said, I think that Tari is a very good option for that 4 slot. Do I think he is a better option, though, than, Jabari Smith Jr.? No, I don't think he is. So, with that being said, I still think Jabari is the best option. But if you remember back, they talked about how this lineup maybe could include Jabari Smith Jr., but that they could change it and mold it to the opposing offensive, or the opposing, defense, whatever you want to call it. Whichever way you want to play matchups is probably the best way to say it. And that's where I think this 4th option actually has a legitimate shot to start some games. And that's Steven Adams. We all know how big the double big lineup was last year and how it really changed the outlook of the Rockets season. And I kind of compare it to this, especially with football season here. There is only a few teams in the NBA, or really not even a few teams, just one team who can run the double big, and that is the Houston Rockets. There is only one team in the NFL who can run the tush push. That's the Philadelphia Eagles. I would compare those two to be very similar because the double big is so hard to run. No other team has been able to match it. They tried to do it last year, and it didn't go well for them. The Rockets, though, they've been able to use it very, very well. Steven Adams is a very, very, very big part in that. Most of the time it was Şengün and Adams out there running that double big lineup. So I could definitely see either a bigger team or a smaller team. Obviously a smaller team, you want to use your height to advantage, or a bigger team, you want to make sure you kind of cooperate with the height to each other. I don't mind having Steven Adams starting as that number 4 slot. There is a lot to digest with that and kind of see, but at the same time, I think that Steven Adams has a legitimate legitimate position to actually be a starter in some case scenarios. Now, do I believe he deserves to be the starter every single game? Not in the slightest. I think that him and Clint Capella should share time as that backup center, but at the start of the double big, if you're going to want to start lineups like that, I actually don't really mind it. I don't mind it really at all in a lot of lights. So it's kind of intriguing to see that. With that being said, I have the Rockets question of the day, and it's very easy for you. Who should start at the 4 for the Houston Rockets? And I'll run through them once again real quick. We have Steven Adams, Dorian Finney-Smith, Tari Eason, or Jabari Smith Jr. Who do you think deserves the starting slot at that number 4 position? I want you to let me know down in the comment section, and we will see you next time here on the show. I'll be commenting and responding to everybody who answers the question. For now, though, we appreciate you. We'll see you next time here on Rockets Digest. Peace out, guys.